Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unfiltered Vet Discussions. Today, myself, Kelly, we have Jenny, and we have David, and we're working on our royal waves. So, it's tilt the wrist, tilt the wrist. So welcome back. Just as a little reminder, you can find us on our social media channels. You can find us on podcast channels. Please like, subscribe, share a lot, comment. We'd love to hear from you. And also just have fun with us. We're here. We enjoy each other's conversations. So today we are going to talk about unity, and we're all human for about the next 20 minutes. And we kind of got chattering about, goodness, multiple different ways that we're humans and multiple different ways that we're coming together and how that works like in a work environment. Like, Jenny, I'm going to toss it to you because you were talking about how you talk to your team about, regardless of their title, every single one of them is important, right? And I do that too at Beyond Indigo, but let's start with you. Like, you sat down with your team and had this discussion, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we try and have a team meeting every month, at least once a month. And again, we've talked before that we have Slack for all the little nitty-gritty stuff, but the team meetings are very much culture based. And when you were talking before we got on here, you kind of said, how do you help people feel heard? How do you get unity when we have differing opinions? Which in the landscape of the United States, we've seen a significant amount of in the last year or 4 or 8. But
many years, right?
Yes, many years of differing opinions. And we've talked about it here, but too, like generational differences. We have a variety of people who work here. And one is as old as I think she's about 73. And I have kids that are 19. Okay. So we have a large variety of that. We have Republicans, we have Democrats, we have Christians, we have non-Christians. We have people who are cat lovers, people who are dog lovers, okay, and people who are horse lovers. And I even have one team member who has no animals. So, we have these differing opinions. We have differing opinions on how to treat cases. Some people here have a really hard time not judging our clients when patients come in and they maybe don't look as good as their pets would look. Or we frequently see animals that come in and maybe we look at them and say, we're kind of past time to say goodbye. But the people aren't ready yet. And how do we not judge them? So we have all of these different opinions, all of these different truths. And I say that all the time because my truth is not your truth. How I was raised, my family life, my beliefs, that builds my truths. And so someone else's truths might be different. I see family as very healthy. There are team members that I have with me who do not see family as a healthy concept. So to me, we have these meetings to talk about our culture, to remind us, why are we here? We are here to take care of pets. We are here to take care of their humans. That's why we're here. So you believe your thing, and I'm going to believe my thing. But at the end of it, we are all here for a common goal, a common purpose. We have a purpose. And that, to me, helps us to communicate better. Because then if somebody comes in here and says, well, I'm really upset about this, I can say, okay, I understand. Why? Tell me what's going on. Where are you coming from? Let's really hash this out. And they can talk to each other that way too. So my team doesn't come to me as much with all these little well, she said this and well, she said this, because they're willing to talk to each other and hear each other because we're all on the same team. So to me, the answer to that is culture. And why do we see a problem in the rest of the United States? Because our culture is kind of broken right now, because we're angry, because our culture is, I'm right and you're wrong. And I'm gonna take that to the grave, and I'm gonna argue until I'm blue in the face to prove that I'm right and you're wrong. And it's up to each of us to do that differently. But in the workplace, you can help build that culture. Your team can help build that culture, but you have to have a purpose. And I think that's what our country is missing right now is what the heck is our purpose? Like, what do we stand for? Who are we? Where are we going? So in a team setting, you can talk about that.
Well, and I think
Well, and if you have that unified base,
Mhm.
that creates the unity, that purpose, that mission, where are we going, what do we want? It's the foundation that, like you just described, I think very well, that you create a safe space to address the difference, especially all the differences you mentioned. Plus, then you bring in personality and neuronormal and not, and introvert, extrovert, and attention and control. But to create the safe space where you can have those conversations. It's one thing within the practice, you have that common vision and mission. But like you noted, outside of that, what creates that unity may be at conflict with others, and what creates their unity as well. And that's where social, cultural, economic variables in the bigger picture can rock that foundation.
I think too, I couldn't sleep last night because some nights I just can't sleep. It's one of those things, right? So then you're thinking, do I get up? Do I not get up? So I started thinking something kind of both of what you just said. And I kind of called it the art of the conversation. Jenni, you and I are creating safe spaces. I'm assuming David too in your company to have the
Oh
art.
no, mine's fractious, and we have knives and locked doors.
Toxic.
Toxic.
Art of the conversation. And I thought about it a minute, and my family can be very long-lived. So thinking about it, my grandmother was born in 1910. My grandfather was born in 1903. My grandmother's aunt, so she was born in 19, her aunt lived 105 years. Her uncle lived 105 years. So when you tap that on, now we're into the 1800s. I met Aunt Bess when she was like around 100 to 105. So already, she was born like in the mid 1800s, right? Like
Wow.
you have the history going that is covered in just that person that I could touch and hug, right? I bring this up because during all the way back when, they had polite society to have the art of a conversation. And I think we've lost that. I think we've lost those skill sets of how to have active listening, paraphrasing, respect for each other, the ability to sit down and have a debate and come out with hugs on the other side. Those skill sets aren't taught anymore. So it takes us as people running practices and running businesses and people, individuals and families saying, can we have a conversation? Do you guys know how to have one of those? Right?
Well, and all you can influence is yourself. So are we modeling that behavior to our team, to our kids, to our friends, colleagues, the checkout person in the grocery store? Are we modeling that behavior? Or are we just getting caught up in it?
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting because one of my team members came to me right before the election and said, if I don't vote him, I'm a bad American. And I'm like, okay, come on in, let's shut the door. And I'm like, talk to me. And she's like, well, I don't know who to vote for, and I don't know what to do. And my mom's saying this, and da-da-da-da, and I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to be judged. And she felt comfortable coming to me because we might vote for different people. I'm okay with that. My big thing is, let your voice be known. We live in a democracy, let your voice be known. My dad and I have very different political views, but we sat down and had a very good conversation last night. And I still love him and he still loves me. And I'm not, we're not angry about anything because I understand and I heard to what you were saying, Kelly, I heard where he was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
As a man in his late 70s, his world is different than mine as a woman in my late 40s, which is different from my child who is non-binary in their late teens. I mean, These are very different worlds.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're right. If we can't talk about it, and that was my team member was really, she's like, well, I can't talk to this person because they're going to judge me. And I can't talk to this person because they just tell me how dumb I am. And I can't, and it was like, so she was really upset. And so I took her, we drove together, we voted together, not together, but I drove her there. I helped her through the process. And then we got lunch afterwards, but it was, and I said, listen, I don't talk about politics with everybody. It's your business. You don't have to. And you should respect other people's, they can do what they want to do. I will only talk about it with people who I know will not judge me. And there's not that many of them. And I think it is because we don't hear each other.
You don't listen.
No, I have in my head what's right and you are wrong. And we have to get over that because even my best friend who is in her late 40s, but she lives in Ohio. She works in an automobile factory that was on strike, a couple years ago. And she has adult children, she got pregnant much younger than I did. She's divorced. Our lives are different, so I can't possibly imagine where she's coming from because I can because we talk all the time, but her life is very different from mine. So how can I possibly judge her for what are the choices that she's making? I'm not living her life. And I think that's the big thing that we have to remember is I don't have any right to judge anybody else, just like nobody else has the right to judge me because you don't know where I'm coming from.
So love,
But how do you teach? How do we get back to that?
we, first of all, be willing. Be willing to listen and not be afraid. It's hard to listen because sometimes it makes you think about yourself. Right?
Yeah. You have to be vulnerable sometimes.
You have to be vulnerable, David. That's the word I was missing. You have to be vulnerable and you have to be willing to say, I love you for who you are and what you bring to the table. And also I want to understand why you feel that way. But when I'm that way, this is all my opinion, that means I'm open to be receiving information, reviewing it against my own belief system, and being willing to consider it and change. Doesn't mean I have to, just means the possibility is there. And sometimes that scares the crap out of people. Right? So, but also you have to be willing to work on yourselves, I think, too, because a lot of people stop thinking, I have noticed, and stop questioning a life in all different directions, and they'll just take what's served to them because it's easier. Like your teammate coming through the door. I don't know who to vote for because she hasn't maybe thought about it on the inside, right? Like I took an 18-year-old to vote for the first time because he trusted me enough that I was a safe space. And he goes, who should I vote for? I'm like, that's a great question. Let's print a sample ballot. Here's my computer, and I want you to research every single one of them. And here's a highlighter, and you choose who, like, I'm not going to tell you, this is not my choice. This is your choice. This is your right. So I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to have you have a conversation with me. It's not my place to tell you who to vote for. And we need more of that willingness, I think, in all levels of life to tell me why you chose fish for lunch today instead of a turkey sandwich. Well, because I really, but it's true. It sometimes gets that silly, but I'd actually like to know why. I mean, I can't eat it. I'm allergic, but why did you choose the fish? We're here in Minnesota. I'm not thinking that, seafood is the best if it's from the oceans, but maybe you found a really good deal. But right, it sometimes people get offended about that sort of thing. Why can't we just ask the question, why? You might be surprised at the answer that comes back at you. And I think it's okay and the other thing I was thinking about the question why is why with the wide range of emotions that we have to choose from being human beings, do we gravitate towards anger and guilt the most? I talk to my daughter about this all the time. I'm like, you have every right to be angry if you want. I also have the right to experience your anger or not. I am choosing not to experience your anger. So when you're ready to have a conversation, I am willing to have that conversation with you, but I'm not willing to be your verbal punching bag. You also could choose humor to handle this situation. Right? There's multiple emotions to be chosen. Why do we
Yeah,
go?
for sure.
People don't
But
like
Yeah, and
that though. I'm going to tell you,
well,
it works them up.
yeah, anger, fear, judgment, those are divisive things, so counter to creating a unity or a platform for becoming a team or
Yeah.
setting up the
I,
communication. Those are barriers for sure. Strong motivators, but barriers.
well, I think a lot of what we do is we avoid it instead of talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to like you. I don't want to upset you. So I'm just not going to talk about this. And we're going to talk on the surface about everything, but I don't want to upset you. But when we do that, we can't make these deep connections. We can't become true friends or true, because I just kind of know you on the surface. And I think because we're afraid of being divisive, because we're afraid of being judged, because we're afraid of doing the judging, and so I don't want to wreck this, so we're just not going to talk about it. And I think that you see one or the other, right? If you look on social media everywhere, it's like there's, I'm going to post everything that's going to really piss off the people on the other side of this issue, or I'm going to turn a blind eye and not say
Well,
anything.
social media is all about the surface. There's no depth to it.
You're right. Because as soon as someone comments otherwise, then they're like bashed. And studies have proven that all social media does is reinforce, like I said, our truths, because we tend to only be friends with people who think like us, who act like us, who live in similar worlds like us. So now you're in this fishbowl of the same information that you're putting out there. You keep getting back, so you must be right. And so we're not open to all of these experiences and all of these conversations because we're not going to talk about it. We're going to avoid it with the people who don't agree with us. And we're going to ramp up with the people who do. And it is a lack of communication skills. And that's why we've done disc training here. I try so hard to be, it's okay. Some of us are very direct speakers. One of my team members, I just sat down with we're doing our quarterly one-on-ones. And one of them sat down and she goes, I think people think I'm rude because I'm very blunt and direct. And I said, I would agree that people take it that I don't take it that way. But yes, I do think that you can come off as not caring because you're blunt and direct. But she's aware of it. So she tries and hears it. And I said, why don't you just try some of these phrases, to do this? And then, so we try and work on that communication skills because it can be barriers, not just in friendships. We talk about, yes, the surface, but it can be huge barriers to patient care. It can be huge barriers to client care. If they don't trust you, they're not going to want to let you do that surgery. They're not going to trust you when you
Yeah.
say that their dog needs a dental. They're not going to trust you, when you say it's euthanasia is the best option. They're not going to hear that because they don't trust you. So we do have to if we can have difficult conversations in the room with owners, I think we can have difficult conversations with each other. And then that can lead to our personal lives and we can have those difficult conversations. But the huge thing is listening. I mean, I think I just, every time I think of David's do better, that's your motto, right? Just do better. Just
Just
try
do better.
harder. Just work on yourself. Just do better. Just do better. But it is something that we have to be, that I think step one is being aware. Be aware that there are people out there that have different opinions and they're not wrong opinions. Yesterday somebody said, well, go vote for the right person. And I'm like, well, who is the right person? Because the right
Yeah.
person for me might not be the right person for you. And that's okay.
And that's
So
okay.
what is right? I mean, morals versus ethics, like you can get into all of it, but I don't know. be curious, but be aware that you're not wrong just because you think differently than me.
No,
Yeah.
and I think we need to listen. We need to give grace to everybody else. We need to find the light within every human being. You know, everybody brings something good to the table. Light equals good in Kelly language, brings it to the table, right? And also be vulnerable, because vulnerable gives that space. You know, if I don't know, if I, like Jenny, going back to something, if I'm worried I'm going to piss somebody off, why don't I just say, hey, I'm afraid I'm going to piss you off with whatever words I'm going to say, but I am truly curious about fill in the blank. And I'm not meaning it to piss you off. I just want to know, but I don't know how to say it without being fearful that I'm going to rattle your chain a little bit. And usually when I've said that to people, they deflate immediately and they're like, oh, she wants to listen to me. Okay. So it's okay to own our own, I don't know how to do this, because that puts you as the vulnerable person and they are now becoming the helper person, right? It's not me making them a victim. It's like there is no victim, there's no negative, there's no nothing about that. So as we're wrapping up today, I would encourage everybody listening to try those steps and also maybe find your own, because we are not the keepers of all knowledge here. We're just explorers who are willing to try. All three of us in the room are saying, you know, I think I can do better. Going to David, just do better. I believe I can do better. Do I know how to always do better? Absolutely not.
Work in progress.
Work in progress, right? And there is like fish in the barrel right now for opportunities to try to find unity and try to find vulnerability within yourself and try to find the good in everybody, because everybody works in a workplace together. Everybody lives in the same family together. Everybody lives on the same street as the other people who live on your street.
Yeah.
Right? We all have commonalities, and we generally, I really feel most people want to be good and do good in the world.
Agreed.
So we would love your comments if they're positive and moving in the right direction about how you find unity, because more concepts, more the better. Like we're all here. We all lean in together. We're going to go someplace. So come share any clothing thoughts, Jenny and David, on this issue. It's kind of a big one, so I want all the voices to be heard.
Yeah, as Roger Bennett, Men in Blazers, likes to wrap up an interview with, courage.
Oh. Okay.
That's good.
That's good.
Maybe we should put that on a t-shirt instead of do better. Just have courage.
Just do better.
Just do better. Work in progress on the front, just do better
Work
on
in progress, do better on the back.
I like it.
Well, great. Well,
Actually, it could be work in progress and then do better, but written backwards so you see it in the mirror.
oh.
I like it. We need to get on that. Maybe we can wear those at VMX.
BMX, that's what I was thinking.
So many ideas. So
And the back just says courage.
Right. Oh,
right.
I like it.
So David now just nominated himself to the t-shirt committee for the Unfiltered discussions.
Lucky you.
There we go. Yeah.
I'll try and get all the sizes. I'll be on the committee with you. I'll try and get everybody's size.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. And until next time, have a wonderful day.